In Focus tonight, how is the meaning of love and relationships evolving at GW? We visit one Valentine's Day celebration that brings conversations about consent and health to campus.
Is the international student experience as easy as the GW administration makes it seem? We get a close-up on the struggles international students face after admissions.
Issues of sexism in STEM are widely accepted, so is equality in Cs only at GW? We put the experience of female Cs students in focus.
How proud are you to say you hail from GW? We talk to students about their colonial's pride.
All this and more in Focus tonight. Good evening and welcome to In Focus. I'm Nolan Hausler.
And I'm Devin Link.
First up tonight, we're focusing in on relationships in college, specifically here at GW. Matthew Lee has the story.
Thanks, Nolan. According to data from the Pew Research Center, over 75 million millennials, or individuals aged 18 to 34, are registered on dating apps. Contrary to popular belief, survey results show that these same millennials disagree with hookup culture and prefer more traditional relationships. In order to help these individuals, several organizations on campus collaborated and hosted an event on Valentine's Day dedicated to building healthy relationships. I went to check it out.
Fear should never be part of any relationship at all, and that was kind of the idea behind this because it's Valentine's Day.
While the event focused on the freedom from fear, the organizers wanted to underscore the many aspects of healthy relationships.
Communication, trust, respect, affection, probably boundaries, having a sense of individuality, all sorts of things, all the positive adjectives.
But as many students already know, fostering healthy relationships in college can be difficult.
I feel like on college campuses you don't necessarily have the kinds of resources or the kind of environment in which you can necessarily foster deep, personal, healthy relationships.
I think a lot of times when people think of relationships in college on these dating apps, they're thinking of maybe situationships or one-night stands or casually hooking up but not declaring anything.
A representative from the Students Against Sexual Assault said these same qualities extend beyond strictly romantic relationships.
While Valentine's Day is a beautiful holiday full of love, it's also an important time to remember that being in healthy, communicative, consensual relationships is what we should definitely always be celebrating.
According to the event organizers, this discussion on facilitating healthy relationships has been especially relevant over the past few years, with the rise of sexual assaults on college campuses, popular social movements like Me Too, and political scandals ranging from Supreme Court justices to the President of the United States.
All these different things are things that people have been thinking about without realizing it, and so I think it's just really exciting to be able to have that conversation in DC at GW where people are sort of already critically thinking about it in their political science classes and those sorts of things.
While college students may face unique challenges when building relationships, organizers assured the attendees that there are resources available to them should they need them.
I just want to say that if you're in a relationship, make sure that you're getting what you need from it and that you're communicating with your partner about what they need from it as well. And there are resources available if you need them. And there are people who care about you to help you, even if you don't realize it. That's all I have to say.
For In Focus, this is Matthew Lee reporting.
Thanks, Matthew. Looks like it was a great event. We'd also like to put the spotlight on another type of relationship at GW, one between international and domestic students. GW is proud to be home to 4,000 international students from more than 130 countries, but university fact sheets don't publicize the unique challenges international students face. Take a look.
We are not that different, but we also need to put some effort to become an American college student.
I think a lot of stereotypes, a lot of biases have contributed to the isolation of international students community here at GW because there is such a stigma when we see them around campus.
Of the student body are international students, predominantly from China, South Korea, and India. As an immigrant herself, President of the Student Association Ashley Lee has a unique understanding of their experience.
For us, for domestic students, and for those who haven't had that international student experience, we don't know how to engage with them. Unless you actually have gone through the process of integration, understanding is not enough.
To ease this transition, the SA and International Student Association created the International Friendship Portal, a program that pairs international underclassmen with older students who speak the same language and can offer support.
The International Friendship Portal is a very small part in a bigger movement of bringing students together no matter what their differences are.
Some students believe the disconnect between the domestic and international students fosters fear and isolates the international community.
A lot of them just don't want to get to make new friends with like domestic students or students from other countries. And I think break the comfort zone is the most important step. Maybe the domestic students can reach out the international students firstly, and to let the international students to feel less fear.
For student leaders, there is still much work to be done, but small efforts are already making a difference.
I live in the district house, and every time I walk in, there's a screen shows the different. We welcome you in. I recognize the Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. I think it's very good, experience.
Well, international students aren't the only ones who may have difficulties on campus. We found that women in GW's School of Engineering and Applied Science also face an uphill battle throughout their experience. Caitlin Hartman puts the story in focus.
I'm here in the Science and Engineering Hall on GW's campus. We've spent the day talking to students and faculty in the SEAS program about the representation of women in the school. Let's hear what they have to say.
You can definitely notice in classes the lack of women in it, the ratio.
According to the Office of Institutional Research and Planning, women enrollment in SEAS has hovered between 25 and 31% over the last 10 years. Nicole LaRue says this gender discrepancy has created an environment where female students aren't always respected.
One time they didn't even recognize what I said. We were doing a group problem and he literally pretended I didn't even speak and called the professor over, and once he said essentially what I said, he was like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. And I'm like, great.
But is perception really reality? Some students may not see this as a problem at all. We sat down and talked with them.
From what I've seen, I don't see anybody putting women down or anything like that. We're treated pretty equal, which I think is fantastic, and that's why I kind of love the school.
Other students recognize gender bias within the industry as a whole, but say that's just not how things are in SEAS.
I don't know, to me it's school. Everybody's equal over here. So if I'm in a class with a girl, for instance, she's doing the exact same work as me, she's going into the exact same major, we're most likely going to be doing the exact same thing in the future, so why not be treated the exact same way?
We reached out to the university about this story, but did not receive a response. Female students looking for support are encouraged to utilize resources in the SEAS Advising Office and Colonial Health Center.
I think a lot of people don't know what resources are even available to them, and so I think they could be more vocal about the solutions that they have.
Thanks, Caitlin. It's so interesting to see those who you talk to for that story and the real difference between what women have to say and what men have to say. Really striking.
Let's zoom in on this one. Tonight, Caitlin is sitting down with the professor and researcher who works with women in STEM fields every day. Caitlin?
Thanks, Devin. We're joined out now by Dr. Shaista Khilji, a professor of human and organizational learning and international affairs at GW. Dr. Khilji recently co-authored new research on the workplace experiences of women in engineering careers. Thanks for being here, Dr. Khilji.
You're welcome.
So your research focused on the coping mechanisms that women use in predominantly male-dominated engineering fields. Could you explain a little bit about what motivated that research and then what you found?
So I've been interested in the idea of glass ceiling. I think it continues to persist within corporations, particularly within the United States and North America. I've previously conducted some research related to how women define success in professional careers. So this research is focused on women in women engineers, and what kind of challenges are they faced with. So research does indicate that there are gender barriers within organizations, and particularly in engineering fields, because engineering field is so male dominated. So based upon that idea, that hunch, and that research, what we decided to do is focus on women and how they experience careers and how they define and describe those careers. It was important personally for me to examine their careers as they describe them, because I've always felt that social norms regarding women's role in society have not evolved, whereas women themselves have evolved in terms of how they define their careers and how they define their work in different organizations. So based upon that idea, we wanted to see how women describe their careers. It was a very interesting study, qualitative, in-depth, and that's another problem with research, because most of the research happens to be quantitative in nature. So we talk to women in details with regards to what their careers are like and what challenges are they faced with and how do they overcome and address those challenges. And what we found was very interesting. Number one, not a surprise to anyone, is that there are structural and cultural barriers within organizations that do prohibit women, or that arise as challenges to women, because women's careers are not they do not follow a traditional pattern. Women's careers oftentimes are non-linear, whereas our ideas within organizations is that all careers are linear and they would follow a certain traditional career path. We also found that gender norm persist within organizations. Again, that's not a surprise. But what I find to be very interesting is that women are very much aware, women engineers are very much aware of the challenges that they're faced with, and they're faced with these challenges in everyday life, in how they attend meetings, in how they interact with other individuals within organizations. Sometimes women find themselves that it's hard for others to accept women as engineers because it's considered to be such a male-dominated profession, we found women to be very proactive, aware, and we found them to follow actually 3 different strategies in terms of coping the challenges that they're faced with. Number one, we found them to accept the norms. Number 2, we found them to also negotiate the norms that they were faced with. And thirdly, and most interestingly, we found them to defy the norms. And we can't categorize women as pursuing one coping strategy or the other coping strategy. What we found that each woman was actually pursuing or using all of these strategies depending upon the situation and the context they found themselves in. So there were occasions or instances where women defied the norms that they were up against, and there were instances where women understood the norms and they realized it was actually in their interest not to defy the norms but to negotiate it or accept it.
So what do you think this research, how it applies to female engineering students now? Do you think that this is something they'll have to consider as they also start entering the profession? Absolutely. I think women engineers, as they step into workplaces, they should realize, and I think many of them do, that workplaces in general are very gendered, and particularly engineering field, because it happens to be a male-dominated profession. Okay. Well, thanks so much for shedding light on these women's experiences, and thank you so much for joining us today. You're welcome. Back to you, Nolan.
Thanks, Caitlin. We now want to turn to GW's school spirit. I decided to take a closer look at how students and faculty celebrate their GW pride. You might be interested to see what I found. Okay, so when I say the words GW and school spirit, what comes to mind?
Nothing.
I would say to an extent, yeah. I have school spirit because I love the school, so yeah, I go to the basketball games, stuff like that.
Been to 2.
And how were they?
They were fun. Yeah. I wouldn't say like as exciting as like a school that has a huge like sports following, but definitely I think in terms of school spirit, we do have our basketball team.
Have you guys been to basketball games?
I actually haven't.
I've been to one.
Why?
Why haven't?
Yeah.
Why not? I don't know. I don't really know when they are.
How do you feel about that a lot of your fellow colonials aren't so into the school spirit?
honestly, they need to get out here and support. Like, we've got a big group here today, and it's awesome, and we should have more of it because when people are here, they like really come and rally, and it's a great time. So.
Well, I think it's a mistake to equate athletics with school spirit. At a lot of universities, they generate through school spirit through athletics, but I don't think it's fair to say the sole purpose of athletics is to generate school spirit.
We've done a little research. They don't know the fight song. How does that make you feel?
That is awful. Okay, because I'm here like every single game, I've got that like memorized down packed, down to the arms. You gotta know it.
Hail to the blue. Woo, hail to the blue.
Oh, that was pretty good. That was good. Oh, by George, we're happy we could say we're.
Oh shoot, don't ask me the fight song.
All our lives will be proud to say,
We hail from GW.
that was pretty good. Do you know the whole fight song?
No, I don't.
All our lives will be proud to say.
I was a part of the GW experience.
All right, there it is. Thank you so much.
Wow, Nolan, that was really interesting. I don't know if I could sing the whole fight song, though. Could you?
Well, you know who could? Essay writing candidate Justin Diamond. He performed
Justin
it.
Diamond.
Yeah, he performed it on his accordion for 6 hours in Kogan Plaza the other day. So he's got the spirit.
Yeah, I used to live across the street from the Smith Center, and it was all day music and fight songs going.
Yeah.
I mean, if the president doesn't know it, why should we, right?
I guess that's fair.
It's a low bar.
Well, at least there's some hope for GW School Pride. Well, that's all we have time for tonight.
We'll see you next time on In Focus. Thanks for joining us.